Hey everyone, welcome back to the December subscription box. I'm joined again with Danny. Thank you for joining me. Let's go ahead and crack this open, see what we've got.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with our unboxing. Okay, so first off, we have our December freebie.
Nice. Yeah, so this is the Neon Glow Powder 5-pack. This is all our neon glow powders. I love working with these. They have really nice, vibrant colors that they produce.
All right, let's go ahead and keep on going. So we've got our box right here, and we're gonna open it up, and it's got a couple things in it. First thing you'll notice is we have our 2 mixing vials once again. We always try and include those for you.
Yep, just makes mixing and pouring and inlaying so much easier.
And then we actually have an Arctic Blue Opal this month.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. This is one of the most popular colors on the website, and you can kind of see why. It's just this awesome, fluorescent, really just deep, vibrant blue. So that'll look great in the inlay. What's next?
All right, so next we have Tanzanite. This one's new to the store this month.
Yeah, this is a good one. I think you guys are really gonna like this. It's kind of a bluish purple color, and it's very translucent. It'll add a lot of depth to your rings. It should look really great, and it should match the theme of this ring really nicely.
All right, next up we have our Blue Glow Powder.
Yep, nothing special here. It's just their standard full vial of the blue. It should look great, and we'll pigment it
With
here.
our Bright Sapphire Blue pigment.
Yeah, so that should look really nice. We should get a nice, bright, vibrant glow out of it because blue is a fairly bright color, and blue actually lasts very long too. So these will go great together. So there's an overview of all the materials. Let's go ahead and get started with the first steps.
All right, we almost forgot the most important part. It's our ring blank. This month we're just going with a classic tungsten. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and put our mandrel into the lathe, and as we put our ring blank on, you notice we're not using any electrical tape, and that's because we're using tungsten. It's a really nice, durable material. On this ring, we're gonna be using our medium CA adhesive, our super thin, and our accelerator. So our first step, we're gonna be adding some medium CA adhesive, and we're gonna add some onto the blank and let it kind of run thin. And then we're gonna add some opal on top of that. And then after we fill in each of these sections with our opal tanzanite mix, we're gonna just put some of our color pigment on top. It's a nice dusting to make sure all of that material is locked into place. The reason we're doing it this way is because we're going for that nice organic look, and if you add the opal and then some of the color pigment, you'll add some like ridges in the ring. So you won't just have a flat background with your color pigment. You'll have some nice opal, and it's going to be broken up by the colors, and it's just going to have a really interesting look to it. We're kind of going for like a glacial theme with this ring, so we were really hoping to have some interesting lines and ridges and depth to this ring. Next off, we're going to be adding some super thin adhesive, and then just sealing all of that in with some more accelerator, just so that everything that we've put onto the ring up to this point is locked in. Now we're going to be using some more of our medium CA adhesive, and we're going to do just a little section at a time, and since we've already put accelerator on, we have to be fairly quick as we add more opal. So we're We're just putting in as much of the opal and tanzanite mix as we can here. And since we did crush it up into fairly fine pieces, it's just really easy to really pack it in there. We're not going to end up with a lot of empty space, which will look really nice. And as you can see, I'm being pretty careful not to just dump it out. Not necessarily because you have to be careful with it, but because I just wanted to make sure to preserve as much of the material as possible. We try to send you a lot of extra material, and you really don't need to use as much as we send you for each ring. So with this, you have plenty of material for a couple rings. Next, we're sealing everything in there with our super thin and adding a little bit more accelerator. Now we're moving on to our Dremel, and we're just going to Dremel everything flat. The tanzanite and the opal are fairly easy to Dremel through, so we're just making sure to go through. And as you can see, sometimes I'll run my hand over it just to see if there's any weird ridges, anything going on, to make sure I'm Dremeling it all the way flat. And as I'm using the Dremel, I'm just doing really quick kind of hits with it, just because that's the best way to make sure you don't overly work the material. You're not going to add any scratches to your blank, and you're going to be careful. And that's more important with softer blanks like our titanium or our cobalt chrome, but with these blanks it's fine. All right, now I'm going to go through and use a razor and cut out any air bubbles, kind of like we were doing last month. At first glance, I thought this ring had a million air bubbles, and I was a little disappointed. But as I kept looking closer, I realized that was just the rough tanzanite pre-polish on a lot of those spots. So you can kind of see them, they're kind of whitish spots, and that's just how the tanzanite looks before you polish it up. So as I was going around, you can see I don't really hit all that many air bubbles. So if you do this in the right way, you're not going to have a lot of air bubbles. Now we're going to use some more super thin adhesive just to fill any holes that were created when we were cutting the air bubbles out. So we're going to go ahead and just really carefully make sure we get it into each hole. So I'm going fairly slowly at this point until we cover the whole ring. Now we're going to spin the ring pretty slowly, and I'm going to add just a little bit more super thin, hit it with some accelerator, and then we're going to go back to our Dremel and Dremel everything flat again. And I always just use a lot of water to make sure that we're not getting any of the extra particles or dust back on the ring, because that can add some weird scratches. Now we're going to be moving on to our hand sand, and we always start off with a 220 and work our way up to about 1200 grit sandpaper. Yeah, so as you can see here, I'm still using a lot of water. It just really helps protect the ring so that you don't end up with all of the material you're sanding stuck between the sandpaper and the ring, which will really just add some weird lines to your ring. Alright, now that we're done with our sand, we're just going to do it a quick kind of look over, make sure there's nothing weird going on, no weird scratches or divots, and we're also making sure that everything is in fact level. So I'm just kind of spinning it slowly to double check that we're ready to polish. Alright, we're just going to be using our medium polish today. This just is a really easy, quick polish that you can do. It works really well on most of our glowstone rings. They don't really need that much more of a polish if you did a good sanding. Since we did all the way from 220 up to about 1200, we did a nice enough job sanding that just this step 2 polish will polish this ring up really nicely. So we're just making sure to do a really thorough polish right here. And I'm actually really happy with how this ring is turning out. It's looking really clean, really nice and organic. As winter is coming, we decided to go for more of a Arctic winter themed ring. And I think we succeeded. We called this ring the North Pole ring because this ring just really looks a lot like the glaciers and snow, and I'm really happy with how nice and organic it looks. There's a lot of depth to this ring. The tanzanite and the opal look really nice together as they're crushed really finely. A couple other things that you could do if you wanted a more uniform ring, we were thinking you could add a lot more of the opal and then also use maybe some bigger pieces of the tanzanite. One thing we noticed with the smaller pieces, sometimes they got a little bit lost, but it added some depth to the ring. If you added some bigger ones, you'd create a more uniform look. But I'm actually really happy with how this ring turned out. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and join our Facebook group for more information on ring making and different techniques that you can implement as you make your own. Thanks for watching. See you next month.